Hello, everyone. It's great to have you all on board. It's another time with Tuto.io, the entity, and in today's tutorial, it happens to be the very last class we are having on the course, PCR261. Yeah, I know the volumes are quite short, okay, but the thing is, considering how close the exam is, the CBT exam, and we've done pretty much few volumes on this course. So it's going to be a marathon for this very last one, as we intend to cover the whole part of the course material I get to do. All right. So today's class, we want to see how we can, since the keynote is already available, we want to see how we throughout the weekend worked on the keynote and ensure it's available. So since the keynote is available, we want to take the class, this particular class, and make it the very last one. So we're going to be starting from prehistory, and we're going to be going way down through the course material. We're going to be going way through the course material just to ensure we cover the whole course material in this class tonight. So for those of us who are new to the stream, let's do also subscribe to the channel. Let's also ensure to smash the like button. And if you're not aware, we have a private class where we do most of the work. What we do on YouTube here is basically just 30%. The 70% is restricted to the members of the private class. And it's a private class you will need to join if you want to make the best out of the semester. All right. You want to make the best out of your semester in now, other universities. So in the private class, we walk you through all your courses without leaving any of them unattended to. Classes on YouTube and Telegram, one-on-one classes, and a whole lot of materials you're getting. So to become a member of the private class, all you need to do is to reach out to us on our official website, which is www.tutorial.net. On the website, you get to find the WhatsApp button in the top right-hand corner. You have to use that to send us a direct message and guide you into becoming a member of the private class. So with this being said, let's go straight into it. Don't forget to subscribe or give us a like. And if you have any question whatsoever, you can also use the comment section to go ahead and ask your question. How do you know I'm from Nigeria? Basically, this energy was just interrupted. So we just have to get going. So I'm going to be doing less of writing on the whiteboard, and it's going to be more of explanation, because of what we have is not the room is not too illuminated. So let's just get started. Hopefully energy will be restored, or better still, get generator sets working. But we don't have much time, so let's just get started immediately. So in our past class, we've been talking about, remember we had an agreement whereby we said instead of using the word WAR, we're going to be substituting it for, all right, we're going to be substituting the word WAR for disputes. So whenever you see disputes, note that I'm referring to WAR. All right, but in order not to violate the policies of the platform we are using, we are being very careful of the words we use. So instead of using WAR, we are going to be substituting it for dispute. So note that wherever you see me use disputes, except for other reasons I would identify, which I will specify, disputes, so that I have switched it for the word. So with that being said, let's get started. I'll also need to confirm the audio. Okay, the audio is perfect. So let's get started immediately. Now, according to the thumbnail, it says prehistory. I'm trying to see if I can use my flashlights, if it will be sufficient. Then switch off the ring light. Trying to see if that will work. Okay, so let's see if this will work, if this will be sufficient. Okay, not bad. It's not bad actually. It's something we can work with. I just add to, let's see if my writing will be clear enough on the board. So we have pre-history. Okay, I'm not getting the. Okay, this is not bad. Something we can work with. So we have prehistory. Now we have been coming from somewhere, right? We talked about how. Okay. We talked about how culture can influence disputes, whether positively or negatively. That's from one of our classes. We talked about how culture can influence disputes, either negatively or positively. We're also able to establish that, in as much as it can affect negatively, it can also affect positively. All right. So we're now going to go back into, and I said for us to understand this term dispute, we need to consider a lot of things. So we decided to go back into what dispute was like during the prehistoric era. All right. Before men become, all right, before civilization, before men started writing, before civilization came into the picture, what was it like from the very genesis, from the very beginning? What was it like? What was dispute like from the very, very beginning? So this leads us to taking, going towards the direction of looking into the prehistory and the prehistoric period. Trying to position my, just trying to position this well. Okay, trying to see if this can. Okay, that's a bad idea. So now, when we talk about prehistoric, the prehistoric, all right, prehistoric period. Now, originally, disputes, all right, began in small scale raiding. All right. So during the prehistoric era, let's put it this way: prehistoric era. All right. Disputes was in form of small. We call it small scale raiding. Okay, dispute was in form of small scale raiding. And when we say small scale raiding, what are we talking about? Just a moment. Now, small scale raiding here, all right, we're simply referring to whereby a state of natural or nature whereby there are no laws, there are no rules. As an individual, you can decide to do anything you want to do and nobody will hold you responsible. All right, whereby an individual can just decide to take what belongs to another person because, all right, he's stronger than the other person, or he possesses some kind of power the other person does not possess. It was more like the survival of the fittest. All right. But now we're being told that originally disputes was likely to basically involve small scale raiding. Now, the world has, however, experienced a tremendous change in the characteristics of the spirit of dispute. Now, the change can be traced to the rise of states. Okay, so as I said, that from the genesis of dispute, we are looking at it from how it started, from small scale reading, a thing of one person to the other, a thing of small group of people taking advantage of another group of people. Okay, and over time, it grew into a thing of states. All right, like we're being told that the is as a result of the rise of the states traced to the rise of the states. Now, let's underline state for now. We are coming back to that. So now it said that okay, so we are being told now that disputes, the changes, we are talking about the history of disputes. A lot of things have happened. Starting from a small scale reading, it has changed over time. And what really gave rise to this change? What made this change rapid? What made disputes, the spirit and characteristics of disputes, what it is today, is one thing. We can trace it to one thing, and that thing is the rise of the states. So when I said underline states, we'll come back to it. Now, let's take a step further. Now, this rise of the states is dated, all right, back to over 5,000 years ago. Dated back to over 5,000 years ago. Please, I'm taking my time because I want us to take note of all these dates. Very important. We need to take note of all these dates. Are we together? Now, when we say the rise of states, underline state itself. Now, let's quickly talk about just a little bit on states. Okay? When we say state, we are considering a group of people who share certain things. It could be language, it could be lineage in common. All right? But what makes them a state is that they have or they are occupying a definite territory. When we say definite territory, they are in charge. They determine what happens and what does not happen. They determine what holds water or not. Okay? Still on the state issue. When people, a set of people come together and they say, here, this particular area, this particular territory belongs to us. We determine what goes in and what comes out. We determine what works and what doesn't work. This decision, this initiation, this reality give rise to the small scale reading into becoming what it is today. Whereby, we said it in our previous class, whereby we have countries launching interballistic weapons against each other. Like I usually say, this is a disclaimer. On this channel, on this stream, what we do basically is to educate. We don't insinuate, we don't instigate, we don't encourage violence. All right? So please note that what we do here basically is just teach, to educate. So now, let's go back to this. Still on the state matter. Now, let's talk about how things were then. Back then, it was the introduction of agriculture. All right? We have people hunting, small group of people hunting, all right, farming, whereby people feed on agricultural produce and on hunting. That's what daily life was like then. Let's take a step further. So he said that the introduction of agriculture, all right, this is the order of the day, whereby small group of people does their farming and a small group of people do their hunting, all right. And over time, realized that the introduction of this agriculture brought a competition among the prehistoric people. So let's note that the intro of agriculture brought what? Brought competition among the prehistoric people. Why? Should it be a problem? Why should it be a problem? We are getting there. Why should the introduction of agriculture brought alongside competition among the people? All right, and he said that, and there was absence of government, definitely. All right, the concept of government can be said to be contemporary. During the prehistoric era, there was nothing like government, even though there is states. And the kind of state is not really a formal kind of state. It's just more like my clan, a clan or a lineage or an extended family occupying a definite territory. And the more this family or the more this clan extend, the more they grow, the more they want to expand their territory. Okay, so it was more of a thing of no government. Now, so it says that the introduction of agriculture brought competition among the prehistoric people, and there was absence of government in the real sense of it to maintain law and order. All right, so it's just like let's not go into that, but basically during the prehistoric era there was nothing like government. So when there is no government, it was difficult. Definitely there will be a system whereby the people works with, but basically because there was no government, it was difficult for law and order to be maintained. Incidents of dispute was likely to become manifest when there was famine, in which the demand for food was greater than the available food supply, considering the subsistent nature of the agriculture then. Now, like I said, a state, and we underline agriculture as well. Okay, a state is good, right? A group of people working together, living in a territory is good. Agriculture also is also good. Okay, we farm, but the problem is, as much as there's a state here, there's a state there. Considering the fact that soil has different types, and some states might be blessed with good soil that they can plant, or even we can refer to not just soil alone, we can talk about the weather. All right, we can talk about the weather as well. Due to the fact that some states are in a particular territory, and this territory, their soil type is perfect for certain kind of food, and not just the kind of food they can provide, but also abundant, not just the kind of food, but also the availability, what they can produce to feed their people. And unfortunately, for some states, their soil type is bad. They are limited to few produce, and the state keeps growing. So this is one of the things that led to disputes on a large scale, whereby this unfortunate state, when I say unfortunate, I mean they're unable to feed their people, or as they expand, they need more produce, natural produce and other things. All right, but the bottom line is they need more produce to get along. And they sent out scouts, all right, check around as they need to go out there and look for what to eat. Unfortunately, they found another state who have the supplies they are looking for. Natural instincts, where there are no government, where there are no international dispute laws, whereby you can, it's basically because you have the power to do it. All right, consider that this other state don't have much defense as much as you have. So instead of going into a negotiation or instead of going into a contract, because there was no restriction, people took laws into their hand. And over time, it became a senoma. It became a thing of fittest. Then we begin to have certain era whereby for years, for decades, a particular state, country, or nation, a dynasty, all right, were in charge. It didn't start like that. It started from small scale raiding, and over time, it got to the state level, with coupled with agricultural effect, another effect, it became something else. Okay, so basically, what I want us to get here is we understand how the whole thing came into what it has become today. All right. So the point here is from the small scale raiding, the issue of the state, the rising of the state, made it happen on a bigger platform. All right, made it happen on a bigger scale, and people begin to consider things like agriculture. We need more supplies. How do we get more supplies? This state has more supplies. Let's get it by all means from them. Okay, so we have that as that. So it says human instinct would definitely set in. That is, the struggle for survival would dominate relationship among men. That will lead to attack and counter-attack. People that you come to their streets, collect what they have suffered, labored, and worked for, because you have the power to do it, they will not rest until they do what we call a counter-attack as well. Okay, and this is how it has been. The circle keep going and going on, kept on going and going on. Okay, so now let's listen to what Lawrence said. Lawrence says in his book Disputes Before Civilization, in his research finding, he maintained that no less than 87% of tribal society engage in more than one dispute in a year. That's a whooping percent. That's a lot. While 65% of the society engage in protracted and continuous disputes with attendant to huge casualties. Definitely, dispute does not leave anyone as a sacred sheep or lamb. When it comes to dispute, everybody will feel the effect. So that's just to explain to us that a whole lot has been lost. A whole lot has been cut short due to what started as a small scale raiding and got momentum over time. Okay, let's step further. We need to move at a very fast pace. So we have been able to talk about the prehistorical era, all right? And over time, the back and forth kept on happening, and by 12,000 BC, by 12,000 BC, okay, by 12,000 BC, dispute technologies has been invented. So it's not a thing of fist and blows anymore. It's not a thing of arrows, slings, all right, maces. Technology began to be introduce new things. So yeah, by 12,000 BC, dispute technologies introduced arrows, slings, and maces. And you can tell the technology has gone way beyond this. Technology has gone way beyond this. Dispute technologies has gone way beyond this. So, in line with that, we have the ancient period as well. We talked about prehistoric before history. So, ancient period is more contemporary compared to prehistoric. So, the ancient period, this period was dominated by the Mediterranean nations, all right? And notable among them were Greece and the Roman Empire. When we talk about the Mediterranean nations, we are talking about nations that are surrounded by sea, all right? Nations like Europe, North Africa, and Middle East, all right? So you want to note that very quickly. So during the ancient period, this was dominated by the Mediterranean nations, and we are going to be very particular about Greece and the Roman Empire. So just like we have here, it says Greece engaged in arch rivalry with the Persian Empire. All right, this empire, the Persian, a whole lot. History has to say a whole lot about the Persian Empire, and Greece engaged in an unending rivalry with them, armed with struggles and the dispute that posed great challenge to the entire Europe. All right, so basically, Rome Empire also engaged the Persian, all right, the Persian in what we refer to as armed hostility, which was referred to as the Roman Persian Wars. What are we trying to say here? During the ancient period, these are a whole lot of disputes happened, but these are disputes that happened in larger scale. You can imagine the Roman Empire and both Greece engaging in disputes with the Persian Empire. We also have the North Africa city of Carthage also conducted a series of military, I don't want to use this word, all right, also conducted a series of military disputes against the Rome in 3 disputes where Rome emerged as the victor, all right, on 3 occasions, massive disputes between the North African city of Carthage and Rome. Fortunately for Rome, they emerged winner. All right, they won the dispute 3 consecutive times. I don't want to use the word consecutive. 3 times. All the 3 times that this war happened between the North African city of Carthage and the Rome Empire or Rome itself. So we have that as that. So in about 300 and in about 3,000, all right, that's All right, BC, we also have ancient Egypt. All right, 3100 BC, we have ancient Egypt became united with the Kotzi menace. So we have Egypt plus the Kotzi menace. All right, in Africa, Egypt also was prominent during this period, whereby the Menes was traditionally the first king of Egypt and the father of the first dynasty of Egypt. So that's history going down the line as well. So let's take a step further. Then, this was the era whereby we witnessed the introduction of chariots. All right, it's important to know that Ichios, the word Ichios, okay, that should be Ixos. That should be Ixos, not Ichios. The word Ixos, this is O. Ixos. I'm not sure this is an English word. All right, the word Ixos can also be, all right, Ixos, or as fondly called, Shepherd King. All right, Shepherd, fondly called Shepherd King, was incorporated into what we refer to as military strategy and the policy of the Egyptians who succeeded in sacking the invaders towards the beginning of the New Kingdom. And this happened in the 16th century. So this came into existence towards the 16th century, and it was introduced into the military strategy. And this era witnessed the introduction of chariots. All right, we talked about dispute technology, arrows, slings, and mace. Now we're talking about the introduction of chariots as well. Okay. So basically we have that as that. I want us to take a step forward a little bit. So we have the medieval period as well. Let's see what we have under the medieval period. Okay, just a moment. Now, under the medieval period, there's something we also need to take note of. Okay, so there are certain things you need to take note of during this era as well. So permit me to erase the board so we can have space to accommodate. Oh, I'm not supposed to erase the course code. So now we have the medieval, that's PCR 261. Okay, that should be here. And D, medieval. Now, during this period, there are things we need to note as well. This period, which is also known as the Dark Ages, also known as the Dark Ages. That is connotative. All right, a lot goes into that. That's why I said it is connotative. known as the Dark Ages, experienced what we refer to as dramatic changes in every aspect of human relations and civilization. The Dark Ages. Please note that it experienced a dramatic experience, let's just note that, dramatic changes. It experienced dramatic changes, unimaginable changes, and it was swift. Specifically, there were changes in tactics and weapon of warfare. Changes in tactics and weapons of warfare. Are we together? During this period, the world passed through technological, are we together? Technological, cultural, social, and economic transformation. Now you can tie them up where we said the world experienced a dramatic change. New weapons were invented. Okay? Cavalry, artilleries, and some new functionalities. The use of armored, cavalry became the most prominent feature in every battle, in every dispute. So it was no longer arrows, slings, nor chariots. Now it's not a case of armories, armored cavalry. In Africa, several empires, like the Fulani Empire, adopted the medieval tactics and weapons. But when such tactics and weapons had become obsolete in Europe, alright, that was a quick one you should note. Now let's take note of this. It says China towards the start of the 15th century changed its armies from massed infantry to cavalry-based forces, initiating stepped nomads. That is some drastic change. Bows and arrows were often used by combatants. Egyptians shot arrows from chariots effectively. Crossbows was also developed around 500 BC. Alright, was developed. So we have that as that. So that was in China, 500 BC in China. Now, we said arrows then, slings and maces. Now, when we say arrows, they are not the same thing as crossbows. Please note that. Alright? Crossbows are way different, way advanced, and way effective compared to those arrows during the prehistoric era. Please note all these changes. Please note all these points, Connect my computer, and energy has been restored. Now let's take a step further. So I to go straight ahead to pacifism. Okay, let's put it this way. Pacifism. All right, Zim. Pacifism. So let's talk about pacifism. When we talk about pacifism, what are we referring to? Now, pacifism can be defined as a peaceful, or let's use the word peaceable, act. Pacifism can be referred to as a peaceable act. Okay? Which prohibits the use of violence. Can you just imagine? Oh my goodness. We apologize for the interruption in supply. So let's just see how we can just get along with that. I think this is better. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I think we are good to go. Yeah, and it's not even reflecting. This is just perfect. Okay, so talk about pacifism. We are simply referring to a peaceable act, and this act kicks against violence. Okay, this act kicks against the use of violence and force when it comes to resolving conflicts. Okay, kick against the use of violence to resolve a conflict. All right? Please take note of that. It says that if violence is going to bring peace at all, such peace will always be negative, which is likely to generate another conflict in a different dimension, scale, and intensity. All right, so what we are being told here indirectly is that you cannot use violence to quench violence. All right, you cannot use violence to resolve violence. If you are able to use violence to resolve violence successfully, such resolution will be negative, and it's just a matter of time before a new dimension of conflict will emerge, and this time around it will be way intense compared to the first one you use violence to resolve. And this is the philosophy of pacifism, whereby if you want to resolve an issue, if you want to resolve a conflict, then you have to do it amicably. You have to what? Pacify. You have to employ The peaceable act referred to as pacifism. Are we on the same page? All right. Well, we have some points here about the critics. All right. One of the critics is that pacifism is a paradox, it is not reality. All right. Some of the critics. All right. You know, when we say critics, some of the I don't want to refer to it as loopholes, right? But shortcomings. You can say there are some of the shortcomings. All right. Some of the critics about pacifism is that pacifism is a paradox. All right. Talking about this kind of approach that it doesn't work most time. All right. It says the need to adopt violence may be productive or counterproductive. All right. But basically, when it comes to conflict, just the fact is that one person will just have to let go. All right. It might not really be a win-win negotiation. It's more of a thing of sacrifice. But the most important, just like the one we witnessed between these countries that have been at war for years now, before the Trump administration was able to intervene and put an end, they were able to sign the ceasefire. I think that was a ceasefire deal. I won't want to call it deal. Treaty, yeah, the ceasefire treaty. They were able to sign the ceasefire treaty, whereby before we even talk about what you have lost or what both parties have lost, first stop ceasefire. And when we say ceasefire, like he said bullets are flying everywhere. That's Trump. I watched one of his interview where he said it, that bullets are flying everywhere. And what takes in bullets are not houses, trees, or stones. They are humans. Humans are the ones taking these bullets. And when a man takes in a, what are we talking about? So both countries were able to sign the ceasefire treaty, then sit on the round table. Let's see how we can rebuild both countries. This is what we refer to as a peaceable act. This is a strategy of pacifism. All right. So we have that as that. Now let's take a step further. So we're going to be calling out very soon, but I want us to take this very quickly. Now there's something called bitter end or joint survival. Bitter end. I'm trying to see if I can take it up from the top. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Something called bitter end. Now, when we say bitter end, what are we talking about? Our time is fast spent. The next class is fast approaching. I want us to take this before we call it wrap. So, for those of us who have not gotten the keynote, like I said, it's highly essential. A whole lot of things that we're unable to cover in this class, you will cover all in the keynote. So, ensure you request the keynote after this class and study the keynote. The exam practice questions will be published. We are publishing them already. I will begin to publish them in their volumes. Henceforth, considering the fact that exams are fast approaching. So, when we talk about the bitter end, what are we referring to? Now, bitter end is said to be armed conflict, where one of the warring parties is likely to survive in the conduct of the armed hostility between these parties. I beg your pardon, disputing parties. Let's take that again. When we say bitter end, it is a armed conflict. Now, this kind of conflict is that kind of conflict that the parties involved in this conflict, one of them, all right, is likely to survive. the odds are not equal, or is the likelihood to survive. The odds are not, if you a thing of the odds are equal, both countries or both nations or both parties have equal military power. Yes, but in this case, the odds are not equal. One of the contending parties will be subjected to the confines of a complete survivor. I mean, why would you want to go into this? Why you know that your odds are not even? What are your chances of survival, for crying out loud? But we've seen cases like this. We're going to take a quick example of this. Now it says, in bitter war, in bitter end disputes, one of both parties in armed conflict will indeed be eager to use strategies of what we refer to as annihilation, with the utmost desire to decimate the rank of the enemy forces. It's just a proof. It's a proof of pure superiority. When this proof is being done, thousands pay for it. It's quite unfortunate. Thousands pay for it. Now let's take a step further. Now the party will work towards distorting its enemies' independence and undermining its political sovereignty. No, I just say it. It's just a proof of who is greater, who is bigger. A good example of this is the World War II. All right, the Allied forces led by the US and the defunct Soviet Union, all right, on one hand, and the Axis forces include the German, Italy, and Japan. On the other, engaged each other in bitter end disputes. Now, in December 1941, the government of Japan concluded to embark on military aggression against the US. Now, on the 7th of December 1941, the Japanese launched an airstrike. Now, they launched an air raid on Pearl Harbor. It's a place in the US where several American casualties and huge material losses were recorded. Okay, that's on the 7th, right? So we have 7th of December 1941, 7th December 1941, where we have the Japan government launched an airstrike. Are we together? Let me switch off the flashlight. Well, we have the Japanese government launched an airstrike, and this airstrike, that's not the word actually. The word is air raid on Pearl Harbor, where it was recorded that there were several American casualties and huge material losses. Okay, so now the aggression by the Japanese and the subsequent declaration of war against US by Germany and Italy on December 11th. 7th was Japan launched air raid. Then let's pay attention to what is going on here. Then by 11th, the same December 11th, Germany and Italy declared war against US. This forced the US to fully participate in the World War II. That means the US have been participating, but they have not accepted it that they are participating. But with the air raid and the declaration, 11th December, the same 1941, Germany and Italy declared war officially against the US. Then it's just a thing of, if you know what you have, you don't want to get into a fight. I stand to be corrected though. If you know what you have, you don't want to get to a fight because you know what is at stake. But with the air raid and the declaration of war against US by Germany and Italy, then the US had no option than to participate in the World War II fully. This led to the integrated now the US had to, all right, they were eventually integrated into what we refer to as as Allied forces, which later destroyed. Now the Nazi German and other Nazi satellites, all right, were destroyed when the US was integrated to other forces, when other countries, all right, partners with US, all right. This led to the destruction of the Nazi Germany, all right, which is also part of the German that declared war, and also other Axis as well. So now the point here is that by 1944, all right, that's about 3 years later. By 1944, there had been tremendous success recorded by the Allied forces in Europe against Germany and its Axis, all right, Ally and Italy, the Axis, Ally and Italy. Now the military campaign remained an enormous task due to the number of strategies, factors, including large troops, with over 5 million being controlled by Japan. So Japan had the number, all right, number of troops, Japan had the number. So the US saw the need to adopt more effective strategy to facilitate the defeat. Now, you must have heard me say the Allied forces with the US was able to eliminate, good success have been made over Germany and Italy. But Japan had they had more foot soldiers, all right, over 5 million. They had the numbers. So much success was not recorded. So the US had to adopt a more effective strategy to facilitate the defeat of Japan, knowing that an invasion of Japan, it was estimated, would cost more than 1 million Allied casualty and at least a gain that many that is the least against Japanese. Now what are we saying here? Japanese had the numbers, and for US to neutralize them, they need to think of more effective strategies, all right, and the US have to resort to the use of atomic bomb. In the history of war, in the history of war, the world has not witnessed this, all right, but it was witnessed eventually when it was used by the US, all right. The use of atomic bomb was later considered and used by the US, and unfortunately, all right, the Japan cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were flooded. They were plagued with this atomic bomb, which resulted to the casualties the loss of life of over 78,000 people. You can imagine, in a day, in a single day, having not 78,000 flies, not 78,000 cockroaches, not 78,000 birds, but 78,000 human beings. It's quite unfortunate. This is what started as a small scale raiding. You remember I said it when we were about to start the class. I said I was emphasizing on small scale raiding. Small scale raiding. This thing that started as small scale. Are we together? This act that started as a small scale raiding has now metamorphosed into a thing that can claim, that is as capable as claiming 78,000 people. It says 78,000 casualties in Hiroshima and 50,000, you can imagine, in Nagasaki. So we are talking about a total of about 120. It's not a number of followers or subscribers. I'm talking about humans. It's quite unfortunate. And my heart bleeds for this. Okay? 78,000 in Hiroshima and 50,000 in Nagasaki. Just by a single decision. The introduction of atomic bomb. From basic arrows, from basic slings, maces, to the use of chariots, armories, and it became atomic. And unfortunately, in just a day, the world recorded this massive number of casualties. What a black day. So it says that the US bombardment of the two cities led to the surrender. You can imagine. The US bombardment of these two cities, what could have been the case if they had not surrendered, led to the immediate surrendering of the Japanese. And that happened in 1945. What started in 1941 ended, that's WW2, ended in 1945. And the surrendering of the surrendering of the Japanese marked the end of World War II. It was a direct message that if the US can do this to China, every other countries like Germany, like Italy, is a serious warning to them, for them to pipe low, for them to also consider signing a ceasefire treaty. And that strategy eventually worked. It ended World War II. So we have that as that. I want to stop here for tonight, although we are still here to cover something, but I want us to just stop here for today. So maybe next semester we can cover principles of laws. I think I'll just highlight this. So this will be for next semester. So for those of us who are currently watching this video, watching this live class, and is in this, we are currently in this semester 2025, first semester 2025. So we are going to end the course here, and just ensure to get your keynote so you can cover up everything we've not touched. So here is what we'll call it wrap for today. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe you've been able to gain something in today's class. And Please let's ensure to keep our notes up to date, submit them to the appropriate quarters, and I look forward to seeing you all in subsequent class. The next time we are coming back to this course will be revision. To be a revision class whereby for the semester, I mean, we're having an exam tomorrow, we're having a revision class tonight. So thank you very much, everyone. Do have a wonderful evening and bye for now.